insane.
Time's flying.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Clifford, Basil, reporting for duty. And just two guys here ready to talk about some shit.
Two guys, one couch.
Two guys, one couch, ready to talk about some shit.
Ooh.
Eddie's picking our topic today.
One. Sorry, I feel like I should...
Eddie just jumps right into it.
Picking one, yeah.
He's just ready to rock. What's the old subject?
What's important in life?
Oh, cool. Start it off, man.
Me?
Yeah. I think I did yesterday's. What's important in life?
What's important in life?
What is important in life?
I think what's important in life is figuring out what is important in your life. Because everyone's different. Everyone has a different kind of perspective of what they think is best for them.
Right.
What I figured out is important in my life, and I kind of summed it down into three things, and that is health, physical and mental health, community, and purpose. And I found that if I always have those three things, which obviously they come and go, and it's kind of hard to balance them all the time, but if I have those three things, I'm pretty good. I'm happy. If I'm healthy, I'm being active, I'm working out, I'm doing athletic or sports that I like to do, as well as I'm eating healthy, and if that's checked, sweet. Community, being surrounded by people you love, people you like, family, friends, whatever, and then purpose is just having something to always strive for, and I think the purpose one is the most important.
Also the hardest.
And I've definitely kind of come to realize that the purpose doesn't need to be like conquering the world. Because I struggle with that for a long time, and I still do sometimes, and I feel like everyone does, in the fact that like, it depends on how you think, but I think really big. So it's really hard for me to be like, okay, my purpose today is to go for a run and eat healthy. Right? It's always really difficult for me to make it small. So I need kind of like long-term purpose. I need something that I know if I do this every single day, a month from now, or 2 months from now, a year from now, I'll be better because of it. But some people just I just want to eat healthy, and my purpose is to be healthy because I want to feel better. Right. But I just need to balance those three things. And I think one of the weirdest, I guess, realizations I came to from following those things is that I don't need a lot of the things that I thought I needed to be happy.
Like what?
For example, adventure. Because I remember when I first started going on trips and traveling, and when I moved out here to the island, and everything was literally all about adventure. Go on hikes, take photos, go to the ocean, go to the mountains, go to Asia, go to, like, literally that was my life. And I felt like that was something that I genuinely needed to be happy. But then the last couple of times I went back home, I went back to Edmonton, where we're from. I've been happy there. And I was actually really surprised, and it was almost like kind of hard to swallow that I always, in the back of my mind, when I'm there, I'm thinking, okay, where am I going to go next?
How do I get out of here?
Yeah, how do I get out of here? But this last time I was there especially, I just kind of committed to staying there. Everything changed because coronavirus, so I'm here now, which is kind of backwards to what I'm saying. But when I just committed, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to make my life the best I can make it in somewhere that in the past I felt like I couldn't do. And I made sure I was really healthy. I started climbing like 3-4 times a week. I was working out. I was going to the gym. I was eating super healthy, so I felt great physically. I still have like a great community of friends back there, and through that I was making more friends. That community was great, and my purpose was I was really getting into music, and I got like a regular job, which ended up not happening because of coronavirus. But like I filled those three niches, and once I did, it took me a while. It took me like a month or month and a half to kind of like figure out what they were, but once they were full, I was good. And I went through every day not feeling like I was somewhere I didn't want to be, which is crazy because I usually never want to be there. Like most times I've gone back there, I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't like this
same.
place. So that was kind of cool. And I definitely realized that a long time ago, but not a long time ago, like a year or two ago, I kind of like figured that out. But it was just this past maybe like half year that I actually practiced it and was able to test it in a way that I didn't have adventure, or I didn't have something that I thought was really important to me. If it makes sense.
I think so. Yeah.
Did I describe that well?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's almost like figuring out what is actually important to you and what you think is important, and then kind of separating them and making what the real important things are, making sure those are consistent in my life. And then the things that you just think are important are almost like, it's hard to swallow sometimes.
How do you separate something if you think it's important, though? Because if you think it's important, therefore it's important.
I think the only way to do it, and the way I did it, is like test yourself. Like that's what I did when I was in Edmonton. I was like, okay, I can't adventure. Like it's a city. Like I can go look at cows.
You can't adventure as in you can't go hiking.
You can't adventure in the way that I think of adventure. The way I think of adventure is traveling, backpacking, going in the mountains, doing just like outdoor adventure, like it, and which has been such a huge part of my life over the past little while that it was one of the only when I'm there is one of the only times that I'm able to test what I'm like not in that situation. So to test what you think is important and seeing if it's actually important is just take it away. Like, so let's say you think partying. That's a big one. Let's say you think partying is a really important thing to you. Partying makes me happy. I feel better on the weekends when I go out and have fun with my friends and I get drunk and I get fucked up, whatever you want to be. Like, don't do it for a month. And at the end of that month, then like evaluate. And you can't figure it out over a day. You can't be like, oh, I didn't party last night and I'm sad today, so that didn't work. It's got to be something that's long term, and it's almost like a personal challenge.
Yeah.
It's like, how long can I go without this one thing?
Yeah.
And how will it affect me?
Yeah.
And then if it's something that affects you negatively, if you take away, like obviously don't take away anything to do with health, but let's say you take away reading. Let's like every night you read for an hour and you're just like, I'm just not going to read for 2 weeks and see what that's like. And at the end of the 2 weeks, you'd be like, I really miss reading. That's something that genuinely makes me happy. Then it makes you happy because you have a comparison.
Right.
But until you have that comparison, you don't really know.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like food. It's like if you've never had pepper on anything before, you've never had a spice on anything, you don't feel like you need pepper. You don't need spices. But then when you start adding spices and good tasting things, normal food tastes bland.
Right.
So it's like when you separate it, you have the comparison, but you have to know what both are.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So yeah, I guess that wasn't really like a specific what's important. I had the three.
You have
things.
your 3 pillars.
My 3 pillars. Yeah. And they have to fold up.
And
the
you
roof.
also talked about, you kind of almost touch into self-awareness a bit there.
That's my biggest thing.
Figuring out what is important for you.
I'm huge into self-awareness. Like I said this in one of the other episodes. I think about how I think. Like I'm very, very self-aware, almost in a third person sense. Not that I'm like in any way like know myself perfectly and like know exactly
for sure
how to deal with when I'm sad.
I'd argue my girlfriend knows me better than I know me.
Exactly. Like, and I feel like you probably know me better than I know me too. Like, kind of, it's always like, but that's why I think about how I think. It's because like I always try to think of myself and have self-awareness in a third person sense.
Yeah.
Because when you think about yourself from yourself, it's hard to really pinpoint things that are wrong.
Yeah.
Because you can justify why you do things.
Right.
Whereas
because you know your own, let's call them excuses.
Exactly. I actually have a perfect example. I was working with a guy back at Edmonton to brand his. He's a musician, and I was working with him on branding his company, his brand, where he goes out and he plays. He does like regular gigs, but he also does like speaking and everything like that. And we were having like a really tough time, or he was having a tough time getting his why down. We were really talking about like, what's your why? Like, why do you do what you do? And I gave him kind of the assignment to figure out why you do what you do. Took him like a week, and I came back, and he didn't really have any answer. And then I sat with him and some of his family members in his living room for like an hour, and we chose his why. And he was like, yeah, that's on point. Because it was like an external, it was external. It was someone else talking about why he does what he does. Because I know, like, if you think about why you go on adventures, I can answer that pretty quickly, where in your head, you're probably like, oh, well, there's this reason, and there's this reason, and there's this reason, and there's this reason. But it's hard to pinpoint that one thing in your own head, because you can think about everything going on at once, where I know, like, you thrive off adventure, you love it, you love being outdoors, you like learning about yourself in the outdoors kind of thing.
So what about parents who really want their kids to go to
a parenting video?
Post-secondary school because they know their kids so well, and they know that this schooling is the best thing for their kids, and they're going to do whatever it takes to send their kids to this school, and it doesn't matter what the kid says, they're going to this school?
I feel...
Because that's a really tough line. And I think I would argue that no one can pick or tell you what your why is. It has to come from within yourself.
I think if you haven't figured out a passion, yes. You need to go out and explore and adventure or travel or try new things. You need to figure that out yourself. But let's say, it's kind of hard to put that into words. Yeah. I agree. Like, you need to figure out your own thing. But when you're having trouble figuring out things that you're passionate about, things that you like to do, sometimes it's nice to have an external body, an external mind, somebody else, kind of telling you what you do consistently. Because a lot of times the things that you do consistently are subconscious. Yeah. You don't really realize it that you like to do it. You just do it every day because you subconsciously like it. But then when someone else comes and says, oh, you do this all the time, you're like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, it's kind of weird to have that extra input. Yeah. But for the parent thing, I think it's a really different relationship, because I think
it's almost the parent's ego talking.
It's the parent's ego a lot. Parents are always looking out for their kids' best interests. Mm-hmm. Like, even if your parent's an asshole, they don't want you to have a shitty life, right? So it's not. That's such a complicated topic, I feel like, it is. Because there are so many situations where it's like, the parent just wants their kid to be successful, so their name is on a piece of success. Yeah. That's a huge factor. It's huge. Definitely in like prestigious jobs. Mm-hmm. And a lot of like cultures. Yeah. But then there's also just like, parents are scared. Like, parents are scared that you're gonna drop out of school. Parents are scared that you're gonna go
become homeless,
be a bum, and fuck up your life, when in reality, like, I think
they just want what's best.
I think going straight from high school to university is like one of the most fucked up things ever. Yeah. Like, you're not, like, I went into high school, I went into university when I was 17. Yeah. I wasn't even allowed to vote, but they wanted me to choose what to do with my life. Yeah. Like, what? That doesn't make sense.
Choose your career path that you're going to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah, when you're 17 years old.
Spend tens of thousands of dollars on school, and
it's one of the biggest scams, I think, in society. I honestly, like,
school is a fucking scam.
I don't think school is a scam. I think when they try to get people to do school is a scam. Yeah. Trying to get someone to choose something
when they don't
before they're developed, before they're like fully developed upstairs, is kind of fucked up. But yeah, I don't know. I think the parent thing, there's so many reasons. Yeah, I think a big thing is parent ego. A big thing is parents don't want you to fail in life. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, if like parents went to school and their life turned out okay, they go like, oh well, the only option is to go to school because that's how my life went, so that's how yours must go. Okay, and then vice versa as well. What if parents don't go to school?
What if you had a group of friends that were really into, let's say basketball, just a random sport. So you have this tight group of friends, they all play basketball. Yeah. And you play basketball too. You're really fucking good at basketball. Like, you're the best of all of them. Really, and you always play on their team, You guys all play together, you're all best friends. And one day you kind of start having these thoughts of, man, I don't really enjoy playing basketball anymore. Mm. and you want to stop playing basketball, but you don't really know what else you want to do. Maybe you want to get into playing the piano. But then all of your friends are like, dude, come on, man, you're so good at basketball. You've been playing basketball for 13 years. Look at all these trophies you won. Or, look at all these tournaments you won. This is so you. Like, you need to do this.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Dude, you literally just described my university.
Yeah.
I don't know if you meant to do that.
It's really hard.
Did you mean to do that?
No.
So I played volleyball from I don't know how much. I don't even know if I've talked to you about this.
A little bit.
A little bit, probably.
Yeah.
I played volleyball from when I was 10, 12. I don't know, really young. Up until when I played in university. I played university for 1 year, and I was good. Like, I was one of, like, I had a full ride scholarship.
Right.
Not to, like, brag, but, like, I was good. Like, it's a good comparison. Like, I was, yeah. And I dropped it because of that exact reason. I was like, I just don't really like this anymore. Like, it was, I miss it a ton, and I loved it, and it was fun, but it was just kind of like at the point where I was like, I just don't really want to do it in this format. Definitely for 5 years. Like, it's kind of a commitment for 5 years. And then on top of that, I was in school. I had no idea what I wanted to do in school. I did like 6 different topics in my first year because I was just like, I just wanted to play volleyball. I didn't care about school.
Right.
But that was one of the hardest and scariest transitions in my life.
Yeah.
Because all I knew at that point was school and sports. That was my life. I went to school, I worked out, I went home at 8, and I went to practice, and I had tournaments on the weekend. That was my life for like 5 years. And summers, I played on Team Alberta for a few summers. So from the end of school, I maybe had like, I forget exactly the timeline, but it was like a week or two off into training for a month, couple weeks off, back into school. So it was like my life was volleyball year round. I didn't play Team Alberta. I played like beach volleyball sometimes. So at the end of my first year university, or not, that's not even when I decided in the first year, or the middle of the first year university, that I wanted to leave. It wasn't just leaving volleyball. It was like, I'm literally changing the course of my life right now.
Right.
And that was terrifying because I had nothing to do after. Like, I didn't, like, I remember.
That was your life.
And I know, yeah, it was my life. And I remember talking to my parents. This is like all segueing together. I remember talking to my parents about it and just being like, I don't have a plan for what I'm going to do otherwise, but I just know I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't even thinking about traveling at this point. I wasn't thinking about photography. Like, I had zero idea.
Right.
And my plan was like, I'm going to just work out. And I remember when I quit volleyball, all I did is I worked out and I got a job, and I got into yoga. And I was just like, because all I knew was fitness. I knew was fitness and health. So I was like, I guess I'm just going to continue that.
Yeah.
But it was, and I ended up saving up, and that's when I started traveling. It's just because like I had nothing to do. I'm like, what do people do when they have nothing to do and they're 18 years old? They go traveling, right? So I was like, I guess that's what I'm going to do.
Great choice.
Yeah, and it was a crazy transition. It wasn't even a transition, because a transition implies that you're going from one thing to another. It was just a drop off. I went from pretty like picture perfect scenario. Like, that was one of the reasons it was so hard to quit, is because there's so many people that would love to be in the position that I was in.
Right. I
was not struggling. On the outside, I had the full ride scholarship. I was going to school. I was living at my own place. I was living at my own place with my girlfriend and my best friend. It was a nice place. Like, I literally had like for Edmonton, Alberta, I was set up. Yeah. So when I quit, everyone was like, what the fuck? Like, why did you do that?
Yeah.
But it was, and now to tie it back into the what's important in life, I can look back and realize now that I didn't have those 3 things. I didn't have the mental health part of the 2 healths, the health pillar, physical and mental health. My mental health was shit. Like, that was when I probably like first kind of dove into like depression a little bit. And I started to like really notice like mental health problems. And that crushed me, because my mental health crushed the community pillar. And then I also had no purpose. So all I had was my physical health. I was in amazing shape. I was in like tip top shape. Like, I was working out every single
Yeah.
day, eating healthy and everything, but like had no community, had no mental health, had no purpose.
Right.
So I was just like, fuck.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do what I was doing. And then also the fact of like trying to describe that to people, definitely your parents, when you don't know really what you're trying to describe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
That was tough. That was a tangent. Your turn. I talked for a long time.
What was the topic?
What was the topic?
What's important?
What's important in life?
Man. A lot of things are important in life.
That's what. It's a hard question because there's not really one.
Yeah. A lot of things are important in life. You know, water's important, food's important.
I forgot about those.
I think if I had to answer what's most important in life, and this is something that is really new to me, but I think it's going to be extremely consistent for the rest of my life. As for like what's important, and it's just one word: love.
Sex.
So, and I say that because not only when people think of love, they think of maybe a girlfriend, boyfriend,
Yeah.
husband, wife. But love also applies to like your family and
Yeah.
like your best friends. But not only that, like you were talking about community, that's your community, but
Yeah.
also self-love. And, you know, that almost plays into your health because if
So
you
important,
really love yourself, and I feel like if you really care about yourself, you'll take the efforts and you'll go through the steps of eating healthy, of staying active,
Yeah.
and of giving yourself good people to be around. You know, I feel like if you really love yourself and you really care about yourself, you wouldn't hang out with people that are bad for you,
Yeah.
right? And also passions. Passions are just a love of doing something. So definitely what you said about the three
Pretty
pillars.
similar, yeah.
I think if you really strip everything away, what's left over is just purely love at
Yeah.
the end of the day. Because think about it, what's the one thing that you can't? Well, what's one thing you can't live without? It's food, water, shelter. I'm probably butchering oxygen and love.
I'm trying to think of like all the necessities. Of
What are like the fundamental basic human needs?
Yeah.
Food, water, shelter, oxygen, and love.
Yeah.
Because
What's
you can't
really important, like the bare minimum.
exactly.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, nothing else really matters other than like those bare bone fundamentals. And I feel like that's something that I've taken into my own life in the way that whenever I think of things now, I strip everything down to just the bare bones. What is this made of?
Yeah.
So when I'm doing my job for Robinsons, let's say,
Yeah.
you know, I strip it down. What is our brand at its purest sense? Okay, we're an outdoor store. We sell outdoor gear to people who like going on adventures outside.
Yeah.
Okay, that's like what the business is. And, you know, from there you kind of build on, okay, who is our target market? What is our target market doing? You know, you can start building on that. But I feel like just in general, you have to sort of strip everything down. But yeah, as for like what's most important in life, I would definitely argue that love is probably the most important thing, but love in those different forms. So not only loving a husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, or family members or friends, not only loving other people, but loving yourself. But loving yourself in a way where you want to take care of yourself and you want to do good things for yourself. And also having a passion or a love for something to do.
Yeah.
A passion meaning like a purpose. Like you love, whether it's photography, video, whether it's carpentry, whether it's knitting, whatever. I feel like those at the end of the day can all be categorized as different forms of love.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes that kind of is like that kind of refers to the bare minimum, like you need the bare minimum, and kind of the comparison between people who think they need a lot, like the kind of the very materialistic. And the way I think about it is like businessmen versus like hippies.
Right.
And the quote is, businessmen teach you life skills, hippies teach you how to live.
Right.
And
Yeah.
because you can go to someone who's very successful and they'll tell you how to make money and they'll tell you how to open a business, how to work, how to make deals, blah, blah, blah. But people, hippies, who are kind of known for just living on bare minimum, those are the people that really know how to actually enjoy life, because they don't have they don't have their mansion to go play in. They don't have their pool, their cars, or whatever it is, like kind of the materialistic things in life. They just have the bare minimum, and they're super happy with it. And that's something that's always like, always a contrast in my mind. Like, literally daily, I'm like, do I be happy with what I have now? Which I am. I'm great. I have tons of stuff. It's not like I'm lacking. But or do I strive for more?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And it's always and kind of both answers are right, because you do need a little bit of both if you want to be like quote unquote successful.
Yeah.
But I think it just, I guess, comes back to what does success actually mean to you? Is success living in a tiny home on a farm growing your own fruit and vegetables for you and your family or your husband or wife? Or is success owning your dream car and being able to buy whatever you want, kind of thing? And then so that's why, again, like, whatever's important is just based on your personality and what your goals and dreams are. So it's not really there's not really like a consistent answer for everyone, but I feel like there's definitely a healthy balance. And it's something that's pretty like relevant in today's world, because now that people are able to see so easily into the lives of like rich people and famous people and kind of like the top of our society, a lot of times you see that like they struggle with depression, or they're not really happy, or blah blah blah, and a lot of them come out all the time saying like, or Jim Carrey said it perfectly. He said, I wish everyone could become rich and famous and achieve all their dreams, so they could realize it's not everything there is. And I butchered the quote. It's not exactly that, but it's along those lines. And I remember reading that and being like, damn, Jim Carrey's the top. Like, Jim Carrey's up there.
He is
like
that he's dude, transcended.
He's transcended in terms of like fame and success. And it's like, if he is coming back and saying, I did it, and it's not really much. If you still aren't happy with yourself, it doesn't matter how much money or fame you have, you're still not going to be happy.
Yeah.
And that was like really powerful. And tons of famous people have done that.
For sure.
But that's why I think people almost need to realize they need to get to what they think is important to realize it's not important.
Yeah.
Right? You need to like buy that expensive thing and then realize a week later you didn't actually give a shit.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's when you know it's not actually important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Powerful. What's important to you? I guess we'll leave the question off there. This has been a good little episode.
That was good. Yeah. That was deep.
Very deep.
Very deep.
Very meaningful.
Very meaningful. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on. Well, that's it for today. And
I don't know how to talk now, because I'm just like in a deep mindset, thinking too many thoughts to just
Dalai
like
Lama
close
mode.
out a video. But yeah, let's just close it out.
Let us know what's important to you. If you enjoyed this video, give us a little thumbs up, or don't. Doesn't really matter. But let us know what you thought. Let us know what's important to you. And we'll see you on the next one.
You're important to me.
Thanks.